I just got back from a recent visit to Southeast Asia, and while I was there, I was able to visit my friend Wararat and her family. She grew up poor, but has managed to hustle together a home and other comforts for her family. In Thailand, it is often up to the daughters to care for the family, for mom and dad, even aunts, uncles, lots of children, you name it. Talk about stress and pressure. And Wararat, often breaking down in tears, shared with me many times the tremendous anxiety she feels in trying to meet all the needs of her family. It certainly doesn't seem very fair, and I wonder why such expectations are placed upon the daughter's shoulders. I try to be a listening ear for Wararat, but I've also offered some financial counsel. I've noticed that the family is simply spending more than they are making. I encouraged Wararat to see how she could reduce her budget, to maybe cut the internet, get rid of cable TV, maybe use less expensive skincare products. That last suggestion didn't go over so well. Most of us are familiar with basic money management, but there are also many people who are not. Indeed, folks often live hand to mouth without considering tomorrow. In a sense, they are heeding Jesus' advice not to worry about tomorrow, and yet Thais, Americans, people in every nation are still leading stressful lives. So what gives? Well, to begin, Jesus didn't advise us not to think about tomorrow, but rather not to worry about tomorrow, and there is a difference. What is interesting about this text is Jesus' beautiful depictions of God's order in creation, the birds and the lilies. Jesus describes them in their natural state and acknowledges that even they are still cared for by God. Jesus reminds us just how special creation is, just how wonderful it is that it is around us at all times. The more I read this text, I find it to be a call to a return to the natural order, or at least a continual celebration of it. People of all backgrounds in frenetic societies like ours, or developing nations of Southeast Asia, would be wise to find perspective in this thing we call life. So many of us here and around the world are finding that we're becoming slaves to our possessions. Rather than benefiting our lives, some of our technology is dominating our lives. Working 60 hours a week or spending all of our waking time with our nose buried in our cell phones denies us our humanity, to enjoy our senses, to explore, to create, to connect. It makes sense then that the more time we spend in nature, the more human we feel. Engaging the natural world reminds us of creation's many gifts and the presence of God. Most of us know how restorative a walk in the woods is. Unplugging our devices for some time and conversing face to face with another human being does our soul a world of good. Digging our hands in the dirt and eating a fresh tomato from our own garden is one of our sweetest pleasures. Jesus is asking us to open our eyes, to look around and reconsider our priorities. We can get so focused on work, or we can get so inundated with responsibilities that we lose sight of all the goodness all around us. But as always, God continues to reach out for us. All around us, there are reminders of God's care for us and all of creation. It's been wonderful to see the rise of the tiny house movement that tends to simplify our lives. Many people seem to be intentional about living a meaningful life rather than just going through the motions. Each day we have the choice to make something special out of the gift of life. There's a unique Christian ministry I learned about called Mercy Ships. Since 1978, mercy ships have followed Jesus' model of bringing hope and healing to the world's forgotten poor. Mercy ships are essentially cruise liners that have been outfitted as hospitals, complete with operating rooms. Doctors and nurses and other personnel volunteer their time to serve people in the poorest nations around the world by offering free medical care. There are many issues that are affecting these people, which we often in the developed world don't even need to deal with. People come to the ports of West Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America, often from faraway villages for what is truly life-changing surgery. The removal of large disfiguring tumors, surgery for infections that have damaged a limb. These physical ailments not only cause pain and disability, but also isolation and shame. Post-surgery, lives have been radically changed, and their joy is uncontainable. Their entire lot has been changed, and now every new day is a gift to be treasured. This is the hope of the gospel, that each new day is a new beginning, a gift from God. We can use this gift by obsessing about the things we do not have or the stack of paperwork on our desk, or we may be wiser about our priorities that we make for our lives. I think this poem by Rose Milligan entitled "Dust If You Must" sums it up rather perfectly. Dust if you must, but wouldn't it be better to paint a picture or write a letter? Bake a cake or plant a seed, ponder the difference between want and need. Dust if you must, but there is not much time, with rivers to swim and mountains to climb, music to hear and books to read, friends to cherish and life to lead. Dust if you must, but the world's out there, with the sun in your eyes and the wind in your hair, a flutter of snow, a shower of rain, this day will not come around again. Dust if you must, but bear in mind, old age will come and it's not often kind. And when you go and go you must, you yourself will make more dust. Sisters and brothers, we are dust, and to dust we shall return. Though we trust that we will go on to live eternally with our Maker, we must never forget the tremendous opportunities that each day presents. So how will we spend our numbered days? Amen.